Okay, folks, welcome to the Use Rogue Get Started Guide. So we're going to dive in, hit the dashboard, a couple of admin notes really quick. Let's look at the organizations first, down here at the left. So you'll see that I'm in my personal workspace. You can create as many organizations within Use Rogue as you like. So for instance, if you are working with a prime contractor or a subcontractor and you want folks to collaborate with you in your proposals, you can create an organization. Name it whatever you want. And then invite folks by simply putting in their email address. You can make them a member or an admin, or you can simply skip this, right? And that brand new organization is where you can now start your new proposals. So you can do that for teaming partners, or you can do it within your own organization, because in Use Rogue, each organization has its own separately segmented and separately encrypted data structure. And what that means is, in a little bit, when we are actually doing generations with the AI, and the AI indexes off of your stored content, those two different organizations can have very different content. For instance, if your company does facilities maintenance and IT services and support, Windows maintenance in those two different contexts means very different things. So you might want to have within your own organization two different entities in Use Rogue, one that holds your past performance and does your facilities maintenance work, and another one that does your IT support work, so that when the AI is generating, it's not bleeding window washing in with Windows updates. The other thing that you can do in your organizations is create what we call a baseball card. So we'll go to userogue.com here. You'll see here's all of my proposals for userogue.com. You'll also see here in the settings tab that under the organization button, I have a baseball card here. And so I can customize the persona of each of my organizations and tailor them custom to that organization. So in the context of my organization that does facilities maintenance, I can represent that company as a facilities maintenance corporation. And in my IT services, I can represent that organization as an IT services and support company. And so when the AI, again, goes to generate content, it indexes this baseball card, this company persona, when it talks about your company. So it talks about your company the way you talk about your company. And so in this baseball card, you want to include things like your socioeconomic set-asides, some of your core capabilities, perhaps some light descriptions of your past performance or your customers, typically the types of things that you would include on a company slick sheet that you might hand out at a trade show or a convention. The other thing you can do here, if you're comfortable with it, is you can actually change the tone of voice for the AI. This is a little bit higher end feature, but you can make things more concrete or abstract. So if you're doing, say, science and technology proposals, you might want things to be a little bit more abstract. So when it is generating content, it generates content that's a little bit broader range, right? It's not talking about specific, say, systems engineering that are very narrow. It could be talking about broader, more conceptual things. Same thing goes for the grade level. If you wanted to talk at very sort of high level language, at say college or graduate level, you can kick that level up, right? I can put it into college, or I can bring it down and maybe have a more approachable and more readable level. I'm going to set mine at about 14. Same thing goes with passive voice, active voice. You can sort of tune these features if you like, if you really want to customize the way that your AI generates. And I can just hit save here, okay? So I mentioned the data shelf. So the content that I save in the system all gets saved in what's called a data shelf. And so what I can do is I can use this data shelf to upload my past proposals, my CPARs, my monthly status reports, my key personnel resumes, those types of documents that have relevant content in them that I want to be able to reuse, that I want the AI to index and invoke when it's creating new generations on my behalf. So I can upload those documents, and every document that I create in the system gets saved here in the document shelf as well. So you have a consistent, unified catalog of all of the documents you've both uploaded or created in the system. So these are some getting started tips. But in order to really get value out of the platform, you just need to start writing proposals. So that's what we'll start doing. So I'm going to go and hit create a new proposal here. And that's going to spin up what we call a digital war room. So many people are familiar with war rooms in a physical space. A lot of corporations have war rooms where they have proposal documents on the wall, they have their proposal writers, and maybe their proposal managers all working together, collaborating in one physical space. We wanted to recreate that experience and that best practice in a virtual space so that our customers, whether they're in the same geographic location or in a more virtual world that we're living in now, if they're working remotely, they can all collaborate and use that war room construct as a means for managing and developing their proposals. So I will name this war room. The other thing that this war room affords you is the ability to manage a proposal effort from the very beginning. So at the point where you begin responding to an opportunity, maybe it's in the sources sought phase or the request for information response phase, all of those documents can reside here in this war room. So you can do knowledge management and proposal management in a single place. So there's a number of ways that we can start creating a new proposal. The fastest and most interesting way, the most AI-powered way, is to actually just upload the RFP. So we'll go ahead and select a document here. We'll open that up. We'll select Generate Templates for RFP. And the AI will take that document. It will read through sections L and M and start generating the volumes that are required and been stipulated by the government for the response to that solicitation. And it will start to populate those volumes with the relevant sections that the government wants you to write to. So from here, I can just go ahead and create those documents. Right, we can see that they've been created here. I can verify that. I can go to the Kanban board. And as I mentioned earlier, we can do knowledge management and proposal management in the same interface. And so here, as I'm writing my documents, as I'm collaborating with my team, and as I'm moving these documents through my Shipley or other proposal management process, I can access and manage all these documents through my company internal workflow. So I can kind of track where those documents are in the process of going from initial pink team draft, for instance, to fully white gloved and ready to be submitted. That's great, but let's actually get into building the first document. So we'll come over here, we'll pick one of these documents. Let's go with the technical proposal, and you'll see that the AI pulled out the volume title that's required. It pulled out the headers, right? The section headers for the sections that need to be in that proposal. And all that's left for us is the document description. And what the document description is that most concise articulation of what the government is looking to buy, whether that's, development services and research and development, all the way through supplies, services, support. We need to find and pull out what we see as a company as the most concise articulation that the government has given us for that requirement. And we'll just paste it in here. In this case, I've used the background paragraph for the statement of work. You'll notice that there's a 4,000 character limit for that description. So we're not trying to paste in the entire SOW. We're just looking for where the government has articulated it, what it is they want. So we put that in. The other thing we can do in this interface, in this stage, is we can actually do some of our initial solutioning work for our proposal. So for instance, here in Factor 2, Element 1, overall program management approach, perhaps I could put in something like recruiting and retention plan, perhaps a quality assurance strategy, remote workforce engagement strategy. Right, I can start doing my initial solutioning right here in this document template. And that's important because when I hit create, the AI is going to start generating structured, semantically relevant content for each one of those sections, both the ones that it pulled directly out of the solicitation and the ones that I put in when I did that initial solutioning work in that template interface. And so we'll wait for the AI to generate that initial outline. And from here, we can start using what we call our power writing tools. So we have 3 tools up here. We have an expand tool, a paraphrase tool, and a concising tool. So for the expand tool, as you might imagine, I can select a section of text, either something that the AI generated or something that I put in. I can hit expand, and the AI will take the contents and the semantics of that section and expand it out. So a sentence can very quickly become a paragraph can become a page. And that's interesting when we're doing it from the content we pulled out of the RFP and then semantically generated. But it's more potent when we as writers, as the experts in this field, put in our unique approach as government contractors and then allow the AI to take, say, a sentence or two of our unique approach and expand that out dynamically. In ReuseRogue, we have what's called multi-user capability built in. So you can have multiple users in the system at the same time, co-writing, co-editing, and building out content, rather than the legacy way where you typically check documents in, check documents out, and you move your proposal writing process through sort of structured stages. With Rogue, you can have everybody writing at the same time, which makes your writing process much, much faster. The flip side to that is, with multiple writers working concurrently, you tend to lose the common voice, right? The natural flow. And so typically someone has to come behind at the end of a proposal effort and do one voicing. Well, rather than having to do that, what we can do and use Rogue is use this paraphrasing tool where I can select a section of content, maybe something that somebody else is writing, something that might be overly jargony or dense, lightly readable content. I can select that content, hit paraphrase, and what the AI does is it reformats that content, reformulates it in a way that is highly readable, puts it in the same reading level that I set at the very beginning in my organization settings, and builds it into a natural flow with the rest of the document. So I can have multiple editors, multiple writers in here at the same time without the worry of losing that common voice. And then last but not least, we've all been in the situation where we have to get our proposal in under page count. For that, we have the concising tool where, again, I can select a section of content, hit concise, and the AI will pull out all of the extraneous words and crunch it down to the most concise content possible. Now, those 3 power writing tools that I showed are fantastic for targeted content generation. For writing a sentence, turning it into a paragraph, getting my unique approach into the proposal very quickly. But sometimes you need structured content. You need full-blown staffing plans, for instance. And so what we have is in this writing interface, we have a chat. And with that chat, we have deep dive. And when I turn on this deep dive toggle, the AI actually indexes off of all of the content I have in my document library, everything in my content shelf. And so what I can do is I can say, come up here. And when I actually select content, you'll notice that it passes that content as an input context for this Rogue chat. So I can select this section up here. I can come down here and say something like, draft me a staffing plan, include a draft staffing matrix with 3 years of pricing. and hit go. What the AI is going to do is it'll use that content that I passed it as the initial context, and it'll start building me out a staffing plan that I can use to include what I've instructed, a staffing matrix. And it'll build out even a structured table. So it's given me draft positions that I can include in my staffing plan. And with the power of UseRogue, I can just click here. With this little tiny document button down here, I can drop that straight into my proposal interface right here. So now I've gone from having really no staffing plan to a draft staffing plan very quickly. And now that I've done that, I can take this content that was generated by the AI in the chat interface, which is informed by all of the proposals I've written before. Because like I said, that deep dive enables the AI to index off of the proposals I've already written that are sitting in my document library. So it's not writing about a general staffing plan. It's writing in the way that I've written staffing plans in the past. And I can select this content and go right back to my Power Writing tools and continue to expand that content dynamically as we go. Now, that's really great for organic content that I am happy to have the AI help me to write. But oftentimes, we have our best in breed content, the type of stuff that sits on the shelf and gets pulled into each proposal. Things like your company description, maybe your ISO 9001 processes, maybe your management plan, right? Those consistent pieces of content we save in what we call a snippets library. So here we can save structured content in its form with its formatting, and we can reuse this content dynamically whenever we want. We can drop that content directly in. And again, with the paraphrasing tool, I can select that content and I can reformulate it to fit with the rest of this proposal. So I can take my structured content that I reuse consistently and I can very quickly contextualize it to the proposal that I'm currently writing. And if I am writing a proposal and I have a nice piece of content I want to save, it's as easy as just hitting add a snippet. I can save it directly into that snippets bar for future use. Now, one of the most important things when you're writing a proposal is to ensure that your proposal is compliant, which comes down to shalls and wills, right? We've all been there. And so for that, we have this compliance matrix generator where I can add compliance matrix items if I want directly here in the writing interface. I can grab a section of shall statements from my solicitation, drop them straight in here, and generate a compliance matrix on the fly. So the AI will go through, it'll parse out every sentence that has a shall or will, it'll pull that out, it'll create a matrix for me, right? So the standard checklist you have to go through to write your proposal. But because I have the chat interface with a deep dive turned on, we go a step further. And I can use each one of these shall statements as the beginning, the impetus for draft content that, again, is informed and semantically generated off of past content that I have in my document library. So I can go straight from a shall statement into draft content. And this isn't just turning a shall into a will and then rewording it. This is actually taking that shall statement and creating relevant content that is informed by my actual past performance. So I can do that with each and every one of these things. I can drop that directly into my proposal using that same document button and continue to drive on. Now, another incredible feature that we've included in here is sometimes you don't want to reference any old document. Sometimes you want to reference a specific document because you've written about a specific process or problem in the past. For that, all we use is the @ symbol, and that brings up our callout menu. And I can select a document that I have in my document repository, and I'll actually invoke that document when I go to, say, create new draft content for standard query language. And so you really get the power of leveraging that content in your document library, either dynamically by simply using the chat interface, or very targeted using the document invocation function. And again, we can just drop that straight into the document. Now, this interface for the shall statement generator is fantastic. It's great for on-the-fly work. However, most large comprehensive solicitations have an extensive number of shall statements. And for that, we'll come here to the Compliance Matrix tab, and we can actually upload that same solicitation that we did for the initial outlines, and we can have the AI generate a list of every shall statement in that entire document. And that compliance matrix is actually federated across each one of these documents. So if I drop into the past performance volume or the price volume, and I want to respond to different shall statements in different volumes, I can use that same direct content generation function across the different documents. So you can go from 100 or 200 shall statements in your compliance document and drop them into each volume as they are appropriate. And last but not least, we have the capability of using templates. So if you respond to, say, Mac IDIQs or other types of solicitations that have a common format, perhaps you have a format for your unsolicited proposals or white papers or capability statements. You can save those templates here in Rogue and then dynamically generate fresh content based off of your data shelf that is contextually and semantically generated specific for each generation. So rather than having a template on the shelf that you dust off and have to use from scratch, or reusing old stale content and having to try to massage it and build it into something that's useful for today's proposal, you can just use the proposal writing workflow coupled with a template to very quickly create brand new, organic, but informed content off of your own document shelf. And that is what we have for the Use Rogue platform. We're adding new features every 2 weeks or so. So this platform is constantly changing, constantly improving, and constantly evolving. We look forward to having you on the platform. Thanks for joining us.